You're not even half the woman my mother is." Those words from my daughter-in-law, Valerie, cut through the air the moment I served the dessert I had made with so much love. The dining room went silent. My heart pounded. Without thinking, I pushed my chair back and said, "Then she can start paying your rent." My son, Robert, turned pale. "Rent? What rent?" he shouted. In that moment, I realized my whole life was about to change. What happened next was only the beginning of a story no one expected. My name is Shirley. I'm 70 years old. And that night, I learned that a mother's unconditional love can also become her biggest weakness. For 6 months, I had secretly been paying the $800 rent for the apartment where Robert and Valerie lived. I thought I was helping my son through a difficult time. I never imagined that while I was using my life savings to support them, they saw me as a burden, someone they could insult without consequence. It all began 6 months earlier. Robert came to my house crying, telling me he had lost his job and couldn't afford their rent. "Mom, it'll just be for a few months until I find something," he said in that broken voice that always melted my heart. Like any loving mother, I didn't hesitate. I took money from my savings, money I had earned over years of working long hours as a seamstress, and I started paying their rent. "Please keep it between us, Mom," Robert had said. "I don't want Valerie to feel bad." I was naive. He wasn't protecting her pride. He was protecting his own image as the provider. While I was counting every dollar, they were living normally, going out to dinner, buying new clothes, planning vacations they definitely couldn't afford. Dinner that night was supposed to be special. I cooked his favorite meal: chicken with mushroom sauce, vegetable rice, and the vanilla pudding he loved as a child. I set the table using my mother's crystal glasses and silverware I only brought out on special days. Valerie arrived wearing an expensive red dress and shoes that probably cost more than my monthly groceries. From the moment they walked in, I felt something was off. Valerie had that fake smile she used when she planned to do something unpleasant. Robert looked nervous and kept avoiding my eyes. Throughout dinner, Valerie complained about everything: the food, the decor, even the air freshener in my living room. "Shirley, don't you think it's time to freshen this place up? My mom's house is so much more modern," she said in her usual condescending tone. I forced a smile, trying to keep peace, even though irritation was rising inside me. I'd lived in that house for 30 years. Every corner held a memory. When dessert time came, I hoped it would lighten the mood. I had made the pudding with so much care, remembering the little boy who once told me I was the best cook in the world. Instead, Valerie chose that moment to strike. "You're not half the woman my mother is." I froze with the spoon in my hand. Those words felt like a slap. Valerie looked at me with a cruel, satisfied smile, and Robert kept his head down. I knew then that he was part of this. "Excuse me?" I managed to say, even though I had heard her clearly. Valerie repeated herself, even more confidently. "My mother is successful. She built her own empire. She never needed anyone. She has her own company, a beach house in Florida, vacations in Europe. You just know how to cook and sew." Every word hit my heart. I thought of all the years I worked from 5 in the morning until 11 at night sewing dresses, altering suits, embroidering tablecloths, while never having the chance to plan my own dreams. Robert weakly said, "Valerie, please." But his lack of real defense hurt even more. My son, who once said I was his hero, was now letting his wife treat me like a servant in my own home. Valerie continued, pointing around my dining room. "My mother would never let her son live in this mediocrity. She would have helped us get something better instead of keeping us in poverty with her fake kindness." Something inside me snapped. I had been paying for their roof for 6 months, while they insulted me in my own home. I stood up slowly. "All right, Valerie," I said calmly. "If your mother is so superior, then maybe she should take over the responsibilities of a successful woman." Valerie smiled smugly, thinking she had won. "Yes, Shirley. I'm glad you finally know your place." "Oh, I know my place perfectly," I replied, my voice stronger. "And my place no longer includes paying the $900 a month for your apartment at 420 Hamilton Street, Unit 3. The room fell silent. Robert jumped up so fast he knocked over his glass. What rent? What are you talking about, Mom? Valerie's confident smile disappeared instantly. The rent I've been paying every month since February, I said. $900 plus the extra fees. $1,000 in total, so you both can live comfortably while you disrespect me. Robert collapsed into his chair. But you told me the landlord was giving us time. Valerie stared at him furiously, realizing he had lied to her. I lied, I said plainly, because I thought I was helping my son. I thought it was temporary. I thought someday you would appreciate it. But now I see I was wrong. Valerie tried to speak, stuttering now. Shirley, I didn't know. I raised my hand to stop her. If your mother is as wonderful as you say, I'm sure she'll be happy to take over the rent. The room felt heavy. Valerie looked between Robert and me, trying to understand the consequences of what she had just learned. Robert was trembling, sweat forming on his forehead. Mom, why didn't you tell me the truth? Robert finally asked, his voice breaking. Why did you make me believe you had worked something out with the landlord? His question echoed painfully through the dining room. I lied because you're my son, Robert, I said. Because when you came to my house crying, saying you had nothing left, not even money for food, I couldn't stand by and watch the boy I raised suffer. Valerie stayed quiet, but I could see her mind spinning. The color had drained from her cheeks, leaving her pale beneath her expensive makeup. Robert ran his hands through his hair, the same nervous habit he'd had since childhood. I lied, I continued, my voice growing stronger, because I thought it was temporary. I thought that once you found a stable job again, you would thank me. I never imagined that while I was giving up my arthritis medicine and avoiding buying meat to save that $900 a month, you two were planning to humiliate me in my own home. Robert tried to speak, but I raised my hand.
No.
Now you're going to listen to me, I said. For 6 months, I've been eating rice and eggs for dinner. I've been wearing the same broken shoes because I couldn't afford new ones. Do you know what I did last week? I sold your father's wedding ring, the ring I'd treasured for years, just to pay your rent and buy a little food. Tears filled my eyes, but they weren't from sadness. They were from anger. I sold the last physical memory I had of my husband, the man who loved me for 30 years, to support a couple who sees me as inferior and unworthy of respect. Valerie finally spoke, her voice trembling. Shirley, I didn't know. Robert never told me you were paying. I shot her a sharp look. Of course you didn't know. Because your husband chose to lie to you too. He preferred to let you believe he was providing instead of admitting he depended on his mother. Mediocre. The word came out of me like venom, and Valerie flinched. Robert suddenly burst out. Mom, I never wanted this. You insisted. I didn't ask you to sacrifice so much. His desperate tone only fueled my anger. I insisted? I shouted. You came to my house sobbing like a 5-year-old. You said you couldn't afford bread. You said Valerie cried every night because you couldn't pay the bills. What kind of mother would I have been if I had closed my door on you? Silence fell. Robert looked at Valerie with blame in his eyes, and she glared right back. It was obvious they'd both been hiding things from each other. You know what hurts the most, Robert? I asked, tears running down my cheeks. It's not the money. It's that all these months, every time you visited, I saw contempt in your eyes. Valerie insulted my house, my food, my clothes, everything, while not knowing that my money was paying for her roof. And you let her do it. Robert stepped toward me, but I moved back. Mom, please let me explain. There's nothing to explain, I snapped. Your wife said, I'm not half the woman her mother is. Well, then her mother can show what kind of woman she is by taking over your responsibilities. Valerie stood up suddenly, knocking her chair over. That's enough. I'm not staying here for this. Robert, let's go. Her voice regained its arrogance, but I could see the fear in her eyes. No, Robert said firmly, surprising both of us. We're not leaving. We need to talk like adults. Mom, sit down. But I had made my decision. There's nothing left to discuss. Your wife's feelings about me are clear, and you've shown that you agree. Starting tomorrow, I will no longer pay your rent. If Valerie's mother is so superior, I'm sure she'll help you. Mom, you can't do that, Robert cried. For the first time, I saw real fear in his eyes. We don't have money. I was fired 2 weeks ago. I was going to tell you after dinner. His confession hit the room like an explosion. You were fired 2 weeks ago? I repeated slowly. And you told me nothing? You allowed your wife to insult me, knowing you depended on me completely? My voice shook with rage. Valerie turned to Robert, furious. What? You were fired 2 weeks ago and didn't tell me? I've been spending money like everything is normal and you... She couldn't finish. She dropped into her hands and burst into dramatic sobs like she was performing on stage. Valerie, please let me explain, Robert said. Explain, she gasped. I just bought $400 shoes yesterday. I booked a spa day last week. Robert, we're broke, and you let me spend like an idiot. Her tears smeared her makeup, leaving her looking exactly as she felt, desperate and terrified. I watched the scene unfold like something unreal, feeling a strange mix of pain and satisfaction. For months, I had silently carried the burden of supporting this couple, and now they were finally facing reality. Robert sat with his shoulders slumped, his face buried in his hands. You know what's the saddest part, Robert? I said in a calm voice that even surprised me. Even after everything, you lying to me, letting me be humiliated, my first instinct is still to ask if you need help. That's what a mother does. That's what unconditional love is. Robert looked up at me, and for a second I saw the scared little boy who used to run to me after nightmares. Mom, I lost my job because I was late 3 times. Valerie was sick, and I had to take her to the doctor. Valerie shot him a deadly glare. I wasn't sick. Those were appointments with my dermatologist. For my beauty treatments. Don't use me as an excuse. Her mask had completely fallen. The elegant, superior woman who arrived at my house was gone, replaced with someone desperate and petty. Beauty treatments? I said in disbelief. So my son lost his job because he had to drive you to beauty treatments while I sold my jewelry to keep a roof over your head? A bitter laugh escaped me. Robert stepped closer with his hands out in a pleading gesture. Mom, please. I know I messed up. I know I failed you, but you can't leave us like this. We have nowhere to go. Valerie's parents are in Europe. No, they're not, Valerie snapped. They're in town. You told me to tell them we were doing fine, so they wouldn't worry. Lie after lie peeled away, like layers of a rotten onion. And how many jobs have you lost, Robert? I asked quietly. The silence was crushing. Robert couldn't look at me, and Valerie's tears finally seemed real, like she understood how deep this hole was. 3 jobs in the last 2 years, Robert whispered. I always found excuses. I always said it was temporary. He looked at me with broken eyes. Mom, I think I really have a problem. For the first time that night, I felt a flicker of compassion. My son wasn't just irresponsible, he needed serious help. But compassion wasn't enough to erase the betrayal. Robert, I said, steadying my voice, admitting you have a problem is the first step. But I can't keep being your safety net while you do nothing to fix it. I can't keep destroying my own well-being to support a life built on lies. Valerie suddenly stood, wiping her tears on the sleeve of her red dress. This is ridiculous, Shirley. You're his mother. Mothers don't abandon their children. My mother would never do this. Her arrogance returned like armor. Your mother has never had to deal with this because you never told her the truth, I replied coldly. And you're right, mothers don't abandon their children. But I'm not abandoning mine. I'm stopping him from using me. Robert took my hands, cold, trembling hands. Mom, I promise I'll change. I'll get help. I'll find a job. Just give me one more chance. I looked at those hands, remembering him as a child, holding on to me as he learned to walk or when he was scared of the dark. Robert, how many last chances have I given you? I asked softly. He stayed silent. We both knew the answer. I gently pulled my hands back. Your lease is up next month. You have 30 days to find a solution. After that, I won't be responsible for your housing anymore. Valerie stormed toward the door. Let's go, Robert. I'm not staying here to be insulted by a woman who has no idea what family means. But Robert didn't move. Valerie, you can go if you want, he said firmly. I need to talk to my mother. It was the first time in years I heard real strength in his voice. Valerie froze, staring at him with disbelief and fury. You're asking me to leave? After everything I've sacrificed for this marriage, she screeched, waving her hands dramatically. Valerie, please. Robert tried again. Too much has happened tonight. I need to sort things out with my mom. I'm not going anywhere, she yelled. If you're going to grovel like a dog in front of your mother, I'm staying right here. And besides, if she stops paying our rent, where are we going to live? A homeless shelter? Watching them felt like watching a slow-motion car crash. Awful, but impossible to look away from. Valerie, I said, you've said enough. You've made your opinion of me very clear, and I've made mine of you. Yes, there is more to discuss, she shrieked. You can't ruin our lives just because you got offended. Families forgive. Families support each other. Her hypocrisy hit me like a slap. Families support each other? I repeated. Like how you supported me tonight. Or how Robert supported me by lying. Or how you supported me by letting me pay your bills while you spent money like nothing was wrong. Robert dropped into a chair, head in his hands. Mom, we've made terrible mistakes, he whispered. We've hurt you in ways we can't undo. But if you turn your back on us now, we have nowhere to go. That's not my problem, I said, my voice colder than I expected. For 70 years I've taken care of everyone, my parents, my husband, you. Tell me, when was the last time someone took care of me? The silence was long and heavy. Robert finally looked up, guilt written across his face. Never, he whispered. I've never taken care of you. I just assumed you'd always be fine. I never thought about your needs. Valerie rolled her eyes, clearly losing patience. Enough with the drama, Shirley. You're the mother. It's your responsibility to help your son. You can't just decide you don't want to be a mother anymore. Those words were the final straw. I stepped closer to Valerie until we were only inches apart. When I spoke, my voice was so low and sharp that she instinctively stepped back. Don't you ever tell me what kind of mother I should be? I said. I've been a mother for 35 years. I've given up my youth, my dreams, my opportunities, my money, even my health for my son. And what have you sacrificed? Your beauty treatments? Your $400 shoes? Valerie opened her mouth to argue, but I didn't let her speak. Being a mother doesn't mean being an ATM. It doesn't mean accepting disrespect. It means teaching your children to be responsible and independent. And in that, I clearly failed. Robert jumped up so fast that he knocked over his chair. Don't say that. You've been a wonderful mother. I'm the one who failed. Yes, Robert. I said, you failed. But I'm the one who let it get this far. I let you become someone who lies to his wife, lies to his mother, and allows the woman who raised him to be insulted. Tears ran down my face, but my voice stayed steady. Valerie began pacing the room like she was trapped. This is a nightmare. In-laws are supposed to help their daughters-in-law. We're supposed to be a family. Family? I laughed bitterly. When have you ever treated me like family, Valerie? When have you shown me respect or kindness? From the day you met Robert, you've acted like I was just an obstacle in your way. That's not true, she said, but even she didn't sound convinced. Not true. I crossed my arms. Do you remember last Christmas when you said you wanted to spend the holidays alone because I didn't understand modern traditions? Or when I offered to cook for your anniversary and you told me you preferred something more sophisticated? Or when you criticized my purple dress because women my age should wear something more subtle? Each memory was like a jab, and I saw Robert flinch with each one. Valerie, I said, you never wanted a family. You wanted Robert without any attachments. Well, congratulations, you got your wish. Robert stepped forward, eyes full of tears. Mom, please. If that's what you want, Shirley, Valerie snapped. Fine. But don't come crying to me when you lose your only son forever. When you're alone in this old house with your dusty memories. Remember this moment when you kicked out your own family because of your stupid pride. Her words were meant to hurt me, and for a moment, they nearly did. I imagined this house, silent, empty, without phone calls, without visits, without anyone who needed me. The fear of loneliness crept into my chest. But then something surprising happened. Instead of fear, I felt calm. Deep, freeing calm. "You know what, Valerie?" I said quietly. "I would rather be alone and at peace than surrounded by people who humiliate me. I'd rather live with the memories of an honest life than build new ones on lies." Valerie blinked, stunned. Robert stared at me, speechless. "And actually," I added, feeling a surge of strength, "I won't be as alone as you think. Yesterday, I got a phone call that changed everything. But you two were too busy planning tonight's drama for me to tell you." I paused. Michael Jenkins called. The name hit the room like an explosion. Robert froze. For the first time that night, Valerie was completely silent. Michael had been my college boyfriend, the man I planned to marry before life took us in different directions. He had moved to America to chase opportunities, and I stayed behind to build a family. "Michael Jenkins?" Robert whispered. "The one from your old photos? That Michael?" I nodded. "Yes." After 40 years of running an engineering company in Seattle, raising 3 successful kids, and losing his wife 2 years ago, he decided to reconnect with old friends. He found me online. We've been talking on the phone for 2 weeks. Valerie finally managed to speak, her voice shaking. "What do you mean, talking?" "I mean exactly what I said. We had been talking every day, remembering old times, sharing the lives we had built, the dreams we had followed, and the ones we had abandoned. And last night, he made me an offer that took my breath away." Robert stepped toward me, hesitant. "What kind of offer, Mom?" For the first time that night, I smiled, a real smile, one that came from deep inside. He invited me to spend a month at his home in Seattle. He wants to show me Washington State, introduce me to his children, and, he said, he always wondered what might have happened if I had chosen a different path. The room went completely silent. "But Mom," Robert stammered, "you can't just go with a man you haven't seen in 40 years. What if he's a scammer? What if he's lying? What if? What if, Robert?" I cut him off. "What if he turns out to be a liar just like you? At least if Michael lies to me, I'll be exploring new places, living an adventure, and being valued for who I am, not for what I can pay for." Valerie sunk into a chair, burying her face in her hands. "This can't be happening. This is a nightmare. You can't go with a stranger." "Michael isn't a stranger," I said. "He knows my dreams, my fears, my hopes, the ones I had before life swallowed them. He knows I always wanted to travel. He knows I wanted to see the Pacific Ocean, that I dreamed of writing a book about my life as a seamstress." I wiped a tear but kept going. "Do you know the first thing he said to me when he called? He said, 'Shirley, I hope you chased all your dreams, because you deserve an extraordinary life.'" Tears streamed down my cheeks, but these were tears of joy. When was the last time either of you asked me about my dreams? Or whether I was happy? Whether I wanted something of my own? Robert tried to step forward, but I held up my hand. "Michael sent me pictures of his house, his garden full of orange and yellow flowers, his ocean view. He told me about his trips, the books he's read, the dinners he cooks for friends every Friday. And you know what else he told me?" Valerie looked up, her eyes red and resentful. "What?" "He told me that a woman my age with my experience is a treasure. That I have stories to tell, wisdom to share, love to give. He said any man would be lucky to have my company." My voice softened as I remembered the words that had healed wounds I didn't even know were there. When I hung up, I cried for an hour, not out of sadness, but out of relief. Someone reminded me I am more than a mother, more than a provider, more than a free maid. I am a woman with value. Robert looked pale. "Mom, please don't make a quick decision because of tonight. Michael might just be telling you what you want to hear. Scammers are clever." "Stop it," I shouted, surprising even myself. "Stop trying to control my life. For 35 years, every decision, I made was for you. For your happiness, your future. Now, for the first time in decades, I'm making a decision for myself." The room fell silent. Robert collapsed into a chair, crying. Valerie stared at me like she had seen a ghost. "You know what else Michael told me?" I continued. "He said he kept a photo of me from when we were 20, the one where I'm wearing the white dress with the red flowers that I sewed myself. He said that after his wife died, he would look at that picture and wonder if I was happy." Robert lifted his head. "And what did you tell him?" I told him the truth. I told him I'd had happy moments when you were little, when your father was alive. But I also told him I had sacrificed so much of myself that I didn't remember who Shirley was before she became everyone else's support system. Valerie suddenly stood up, shocked. "This is ridiculous. You can't go running off with some man. What will people say? A woman your age chasing romance like a teenager." I met her eyes calmly. "Valerie, after tonight, what people think is the last thing I care about. If my own family thinks I'm inferior, why would the opinion of strangers matter to me?" Robert finally spoke. "Mom, if you want to meet Michael or travel, we can support you. Just don't do it to punish us." "Punish you?" I repeated. "Robert, this isn't punishment. This is survival. For the first time in decades, someone is offering me a chance to be happy for who I am, not for what I provide." I walked to the window and looked out at the street where I had spent my whole life. Tomorrow, I'm calling Michael to accept his invitation. I'll buy a ticket, pack my best dresses, and find out if happiness is still possible at 70. The weeks after that dinner were strange. Robert called daily at first, leaving desperate messages. But I continued talking to Michael, sharing my stories, my sewing, the wedding dresses I'd made, the secrets clients had trusted me with. It felt wonderful to be interesting again. During one of our late-night calls, he said, "Shirley, I've thought about you for 40 years. Through my marriage, through my children, through building my company, a part of me always wondered what life would have been if you had come to America with me." His words warmed me more than I expected. "I thought about you too," I admitted, "especially during the hard years. When Charles was sick, when Robert was struggling. I wondered what might have happened if I had boarded that plane." He laughed warmly, just like I remembered. "It's never too late to find out, is it?" The plane ticket sat on my nightstand, solid and real. Departure, March 15th. Destination, Seattle, Washington. Michael had offered to pay for it, but I refused. "This is my choice," I told him. "My adventure." I wanted to pay for the trip with my own money, the money I had saved for months by cutting back on medicine and proper meals. For the first time in years, I was going to spend it on something that would actually make me happy. 3 days before my trip, Robert showed up at my door. He looked terrible, thin, tired, and wearing the same clothes he had probably slept in. "Mom, please. We need to talk," he said. His broken voice still tugged at my heart. I let him in, but I kept my emotions guarded. "Where's Valerie?" I asked while making coffee in my small kitchen. "At her parents' house," he said, sinking into a chair. "She left a week ago. She said she can't stay with me if I don't have a job or give her the lifestyle she deserves." He let out a bitter laugh. "And her perfect mother isn't so perfect at helping financially either. They told her to figure things out herself." I felt a small, guilty sense of satisfaction. "So, what now?" I asked. "I've been looking everywhere for work," he said. "Offices, restaurants, stores, construction, anything. I'm willing to do anything." He looked up, and for the first time in years, I saw real humility in his eyes. "I've also been going to therapy," he added. "I found a community center with free sessions." "I'm glad to hear that," I said honestly. "That's a big step." My therapist made me realize things I didn't want to admit. That I've been an emotional and financial burden, not just to you, but to everyone who tried to help me. His words sounded like he had practiced them. "And what exactly did you learn?" I asked, wondering if this was real change or another trick. Robert fiddled with his coffee cup. "I learned I never took responsibility for my life because you were always saving me. It's not your fault," he quickly added. "It's mine." but I relied on you so much that I never tried to break the pattern. I nodded slowly. And Valerie? What about your relationship with her? It wasn't love, he said. It was dependency. I liked that she was demanding because it gave me an excuse to stay a child who needed his mom to fix everything. Then he looked me in the eyes. Mom, I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know I damaged our relationship, but for the first time in my adult life, I see things clearly. And what do you see? Asked gently. I see a 70-year-old woman who sacrificed everything for a son who never appreciated it. A woman who worked herself to the bone to give me opportunities one wasted. A woman who deserves to be valued, to be happy, to chase her own dreams. His words touched me, but I stayed cautious. Robert, I'm glad you're reflecting, but words are easy. Real change takes time. I know, he said quickly. And I'm not here to stop your trip. I'm not asking for money or help. I just want you to know I'm going to prove, through actions, that I can change, even if you're not here to see it. What do you mean? I asked. He stood up and paced the kitchen. I got a job with a cleaning company. Night shifts. The pay is small, but it's honest work, and I rented a small room downtown. I'm also taking online classes to get an accounting certificate. I stared at him in surprise. When did you decide all this? The night after our dinner, he said. Valerie yelled at me again about money, and something inside me just snapped. I realized I was 35 and had never taken responsibility, not once. He sat down and took my hands. Mom, I want you to go to Seattle. Meet Michael. See the ocean. Write the book you always dreamed of writing. I want you to be happy, even if I'm not part of your life anymore. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I was talking to my real son. Robert, you'll always be part of my life, I said softly. But our relationship can't stay the same. I understand, he said firmly. And I'm going to become the kind of son you can be proud of, even if it takes years. We sat in silence for a long time. Then he asked, will you tell me about Michael? What was he like when you were young? I couldn't help smiling. He was brilliant, ambitious, gentle. He made me feel like the most interesting woman in the world. Then why didn't you go with him to America? Robert asked. Because I was afraid. I admitted 81959. Afraid of leaving my home. Afraid of failing. Afraid I wasn't good enough. Then I met your father. He was safe, stable. I don't regret choosing him. We had beautiful moments. But now, I have a second chance to see what might have happened if I'd been braver. Robert nodded. Do you think Michael really cared about you all these years? Or is he idealizing the past? I thought for a moment. I've asked myself that every night. Is this real? Or nostalgia? But then I realized, it doesn't matter. What do you mean? Robert asked. It doesn't matter whether it's nostalgia or love. What matters is that for the first time in decades, I feel alive. I feel valued. I feel like a woman who deserves attention, respect, affection. When was the last time anyone made me feel that way? I asked quietly. Robert lowered his head. I never made you feel like that, did I? I always took you for granted. Exactly. And it wasn't just you, Robert, I said softly. Your father, too. Toward the end of our marriage, he stopped seeing me as Shirley. I was just the woman who cooked, cleaned, and cared for him when he was sick. I wasn't a person anymore. I was only Charles's wife, and then only Robert's mother. Just then, my phone rang. It was Michael, calling at our usual time. I looked at Robert, and he nodded, telling me to answer. Hello, beautiful, Michael said, and instantly I felt that warm feeling spread through me. How was your day? Interesting, I said with a small smile. My son is here, Robert. Would you like to say hello? Robert froze for a moment, then slowly nodded. I put the phone on speaker. Michael, this is my son, Robert. Robert, meet Michael Jenkins. Hello, Robert. Hello, sir, Robert replied. Things are complicated, but I'm starting to understand that my mother deserves to be happy, even if it means big changes for both of us. That's a very mature answer, Michael said gently. Let me tell you something. I have 3 grown kids, and it took them years to understand that their parents are real people, with their own needs, not just endless sources of support. Robert blinked, surprised by Michael's honesty and kindness. Mr. Jenkins, Robert continued, can I ask what your intentions are with my mother? Michael chuckled softly. That's fair. My intentions are simple, to get to know the woman the girl I loved 40 years ago became. I want to show her beautiful places, introduce her to my kids, cook for her, listen to her stories, and maybe, if we both want it, see if it becomes something deeper. And if things don't work out, Robert asked, then your mother will have had a lovely vacation in Washington, Michael said calmly. No pressure.
No demands.
Just 2 older people giving themselves a chance to rediscover joy. Robert visibly relaxed. Thank you for being honest, sir. Call me Michael. And now, if you don't mind, I'd like to speak with your mother alone. Robert nodded and stepped into the living room. Michael asked, how do you feel after talking to him? I feel relieved, I admitted. He seems like a young man who's growing, Michael said. That reflects well on how you raised him. Children who never face challenges never learn resilience. His words comforted me more than I expected. Michael, I said quietly, are you sure you want to get involved with someone whose life is full of family drama? He laughed softly. My dear, at our age, everyone has family drama. One of my sons just got divorced and moved back in with 2 kids. My daughter has a midlife crisis and cries to me every Tuesday. My youngest is struggling with a video game addiction that's affecting his marriage. Drama is life. What matters is how we handle it, and you're handling yours with firm love and healthy boundaries. When I hung up, Robert and I talked late into the night. He told me more about therapy and the patterns he was finally recognizing. You know what the hardest thing to accept was? He asked over our second cup of coffee. What? That it wasn't just laziness or immaturity, he said quietly. I was emotionally addicted to being rescued. Every time someone saved me or gave me money, I felt a kind of high, like a drug. His words hit me hard. And how do you break that addiction? I asked. By facing the consequences of my actions without looking for someone to save me, he said. When I lost my last job, my first instinct was to run to you with a sad story. But instead, I slept in my car for 3 days until I found the cleaning job. You slept in your car? I asked, alarmed.
Yes.
And it was one of the most important experiences of my life. For the first time, I understood what it means to not have a safety net, to feel real consequences. He looked into my eyes. Mom, those 3 nights, I thought about you a lot, about all the times you put my needs above your own. That's what mothers do, I whispered. No, Mom, he said gently. That's what mothers without boundaries do. And that's how children stay helpless. He leaned forward. My therapist helped me see that when you always rescued me, you didn't let me grow. His words hurt, but they also freed something inside me. For years, I'd felt guilty for even wanting to say no. Now, I saw that I had kept him dependent without meaning to. So, what happens now? I asked quietly. Now, he said softly, I'm going to prove, first to myself, then to you, that I can be an adult. I'll pay my bills, make my own decisions, face my own problems. And when you come back from Seattle, if you come back, I'll be a son you can be proud of. And if I decide to stay in Seattle? I asked. He smiled, really smiled, with no manipulation behind it. Then I'll be happy for you, he said. I'll visit when I can. I'll call you every week. And I'll live my own life, knowing that my mother is finally living hers. The day of my trip arrived with a clear sky and a soft breeze, as if the world was promising me new adventures. Robert came early to drive me to the airport. For the first time in years, there was no tension between us. He brought white daisies, my favorite, and a sealed letter. Don't open it until you're on the plane, he said with a shy smile. It's something I needed to say, but it's easier to write than to say out loud. On the way to the airport, we talked about ordinary things, the weather, the news, his plans for the week. It felt like a normal conversation between a mother and her son, something we hadn't had in so long. No guilt, no drama, just 2 adults who loved each other and finally understood boundaries. Mom, he said when we arrived, no matter what happens in Seattle, this trip is already worth it. What do you mean? I asked. Seeing you like this, excited, nervous, happy. I haven't seen you shine like this in years. He helped me take my suitcase out of the car. Inside were my best dresses, including the coral pink one I bought just for this trip. Inside the airport, Robert walked with me all the way to the security gate. When it was time to say goodbye, we hugged tightly, like we used to when he was little. I love you, Mom, he whispered. Have fun. Fall in love. Be happy. You deserve it. I love you too, son. And I'm proud of the man you're becoming. On the plane, I opened his letter with trembling hands. His usually messy handwriting looked more grown-up, more thoughtful. Mom, it began. These last few days, I've been thinking about all the times you were a hero without me noticing. When you worked double shifts to buy my school books. When you sold your new sewing machine so I could have a bicycle. When you pretended not to be hungry so I could eat more. When you stayed up all night when I was sick. All those silent, loving sacrifices that I took for granted. Now I understand that being a mother doesn't mean giving up everything until you disappear. It means loving enough to teach independence. It means being brave enough to let go. Thank you for finally loving me enough to let me grow. Fly high, Mom, literally and figuratively. With love and respect, Robert. P.S. Michael is a lucky man to meet the most extraordinary woman in the world. Tears rolled down my cheeks as I put the letter away. Out the plane window, the clouds stretched endlessly. For the first time in decades, my future felt just as wide and open. Michael was waiting at the Seattle airport with yellow roses and a warm smile I recognized instantly. He had more wrinkles now, his hair completely white, but the joy in his face was exactly the same as in our college days. Shirley, he said as we hugged, you're even more beautiful than I remembered. The days that followed felt like a dream. Michael took me to the Pacific coast, where I saw the ocean stretch to the horizon for the first time in my life. He introduced me to his children, who welcomed me with genuine kindness. His youngest daughter, Carmen, said, Dad hasn't smiled like that since Mom died. Thank you for bringing back his happiness. Michael cooked for me every night, beautiful dinners we enjoyed on his deck as we watched the sunset. I'm not a retired engineer, he told me one evening. I'm just Michael, the man who fell in love with a brilliant girl 40 years ago and never forgot her. His words touched me deeply because they reflected exactly how I felt. I wasn't just Robert's mother. I wasn't Charles's widow. I wasn't the tired seamstress. I was simply Shirley, a woman with stories, dreams, and love still inside her. At the end of my month in Seattle, Michael made a proposal that changed how I saw my future. Shirley, I don't want this to end. I know it's crazy. I know we're still rediscovering each other. But I want you to think about moving to Seattle. Not to marry right away. Not even to live together if you don't want to. Just give us a chance to build something beautiful at this stage of our lives. My first instinct was to think of all the reasons it couldn't work. My house, my small circle of friends, my whole life back home. But then I thought of Robert, of his letter, of his words about letting myself fly. I thought of Valerie, who had never truly respected me. I thought of all the years I had lived only for others. What if it doesn't work out? I asked. Then we'll have had a beautiful adventure, Michael said. But surely, what if it does work? What if after a lifetime of putting everyone else first, you finally get to be completely happy? That night, I called Robert to tell him about Michael's proposal. His response surprised me and filled me with pride. Mom, are you happy with him? Robert asked quietly. Happier than I've been in decades, I said. He treats me well. He respects me. He makes me feel valued every single day. Then stay, he said. Build the life you deserve. I'll be fine. In fact, I'll be better knowing you're finally living for yourself. 6 months later, I was packing my most precious belongings, getting ready to move permanently to Seattle. Robert helped me through the entire process, showing a maturity that filled me with hope. You know what the most ironic part of all this is? He asked while wrapping old family photos.
What?
That by letting you go, I feel like I finally got you back. Not as the mother who always saved me, but as the incredible woman you always were, the woman I never truly took the time to understand. Now, as I write this from Michael's deck, watching the Pacific Ocean and waiting for him to return from the market with ingredients for the dinner we'll cook together, I think about everything that has changed. Robert is building a strong future. He earned a promotion, moved to a better apartment, and is dating a woman who inspires him to grow instead of encouraging his dependence. Valerie, he told me, married an older man who can afford her lifestyle. Honestly, that's probably best for everyone. And me? I finally learned that it's never too late to be happy. I learned that self-love isn't selfish. It's the foundation for loving others in a healthy way. I learned that even at 70, a woman can have adventures, fall in love, and start a new life. Last month, Michael and I got married in a small beach ceremony with his children and Robert as our witnesses. Robert cried through the whole ceremony, but they were tears of joy. "I never thought I'd see my mother marry for love," he told me later. "I always assumed your marriage to Dad was just duty." Now, when I look back at that awful night when Valerie humiliated you, I realize it was the greatest gift. It woke me up. It showed me that you and I deserved better. It gave me the courage to chase happiness I thought I had lost forever. And you, what would you do if life gave you a second chance at real happiness? Would you be brave enough to take it, no matter what others said? Because trust me, it's never too late to begin again. If you like my story, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Thank you for your sweet support. On the screen, you'll find 2 more life stories I highly recommend. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next life story, with love and respect.